Hi everyone, it's Nina Goradia. I'm a somatic experiencing practitioner on the non-dual path. Today I want to talk about a conditioning that can be very dangerous to the body and even to our survival. Yet it's so common. I've seen this in myself, I've seen this in countless people I've worked with or people I've known. And so I'm curious if this resonates for you. But if our ego conditioning, if our cultural conditioning, if our programming is programmed to be against ourselves and our body, this is going to add up to a place where it's no longer sustainable, where the body can no longer buffer the attacks or the drain in energy. And so think about how your relationship is with your body. I've worked with a lot of clients who are giving themselves the best food, the best water, organic, filtered. They're taking the right supplements. They're not taking in drugs or chemicals that harm the body. They're living like monks in some ways. And yet, the body is having energy issues or health issues. And of course, we want to see a medical professional to rule out if there's anything major going on. But what I noticed in these clients is a conditioning against one's own body. And that can show up in a lot of different ways. So, one way is having this belief that mind over matter. And as long as I can just will myself through this situation, my body should be able to keep up. Now, a lot of us can get by with this in our 20s, maybe even a little bit in our 30s. But when you hit 40, it's usually a different ball game. And the body has just been so gracious this whole time as a servant to us. And it's like, yeah, I'll take it. I'll take it. I unconditionally love you. I'll just do it. But then the body begins failing, even though it keeps trying to support us. And then the clients say, well, something's wrong with the body. Why is the body doing this? But I posit that the body is always right in the sense that the body is communicating a message. It's just a biofeedback for all of the various inputs that are put into it. So it might be that I'm running it ragged because of my mental conditioning, or it might be that it was exposed to actual poisons in the environment. Whatever the reason is, the body is just giving you the message, hey, my needs aren't being met, and this is what I can work with. I'm doing the best I can with what I have. And if you liken it to a car that we're just not putting gas in or we're not maintaining and it starts breaking down, we're not going to say, hey, like, it's my car's fault. Something's wrong with my car. Maybe some people would say that. But you want to look at, like, what have I been putting in my car? Have I been putting everything in it besides gas? Have I been ignoring the maintenance? And so when I put the right fuel in, when I maintain it, it starts working again. I can repair it. And similarly with the body. So when we start seeing, like, what is it that the body is asking me for? Not what my mind thinks the body should be capable of, but what is the body desperately asking for and needing from me? And a lot of times that answer is rest. That answer is a chance to recover or repair. It's usually not more caffeine, right? Because when we have caffeine, I do it too. I have dark chocolate. But when we do that all the time and when we do it when we're tired, we're borrowing from tomorrow. We're borrowing that energy from tomorrow, and tomorrow is going to ask us to pay our debt. And sometimes that involves being bedridden, not being able to function if we take this to an extreme extent until we recover and replenish our life force. So I want you to kind of look at what is your conditioning in relation to your body. So one, we talked about this belief of mind over matter, that I should be able to override whatever my body, I can override and bypass the physical needs of my body. We can't bypass the physical. Maybe Ramana Maharshi could, somebody who's so far enlightened and maybe they have special siddhis and powers, but we're not in that position. We have to take care of this vessel that helps serve as a conduit for allowing some of these spiritual realizations to occur through this body, through the use of the body and its biofeedback mechanism of sensations. That's what allows the facilitation of a lot of the spiritual journey. And so, a second reason that we could be against our body is maybe we were taught that taking care of ourselves is selfish and that self neglect or martyrdom is something to be admired or is noble. And this is really common. And when we live this way, at first we might have a ego identity form about ourselves, like, oh, I'm a good person. Yeah, I care about people, and no, I don't need anything for myself. And we could have really good intentions, especially as a child when you don't know any better and your body might be working pretty well compared to later in life. I know it's not the case for everyone, but in general. But then as we get older and we start realizing, like, wait, like never meeting my needs and always trying to meet the needs of another, this doesn't feel so great. And that's why a lot of people who've kind of gone down this path of martyrdom, they're not usually in a good mood. Maybe they tried to do that even from a good place, from a very well-intentioned place, but they might be noticed, I'm not really feeling that way anymore. They might even grow to feel bitter inside or resentful. And so when we're always undercutting ourselves and not meeting those basic needs, this again shows up as ultimately an emergency in the body if you keep taking it to its furthest extent. And so we want to look at, what are my beliefs about meeting my needs? Is that selfish? What have I been told? Okay, even I don't intellectually believe that anymore, but I feel kind of guilty when I take care of myself or when I stop working for a moment. Then you want to feel through that guilt so that it's not a block for you to take care of yourself. So, a third way that we can be against our bodies, and this is similar to the first, but there's a slight nuance here. It's when the ego just thinks it knows better. It knows all. It knows better than this body. It doesn't want to listen. It doesn't listen when the body doesn't feel good when it eats a certain food. And it's like, well, no, I'm following the protocol that I'm supposed to for this issue. And this is what I have to do, and this should work. But we're not listening to the feedback from the body that maybe it's not working, that maybe we need to adjust something. And so the mind is then imposing this top down management of the body. And that's the opposite of somatic experiencing, which is a, hey, mind, let's be curious. Let's check in with what the body is saying. Let's listen. Let's allow. Let's allow the body's experiences and wisdom, this organic intelligence of the body. Really, the body is a genius. It's doing all these chemical processes all at the same time. And if our minds had to run our bodies even for 10 seconds, we'd just die, right? So the mind humbling itself to this innate wisdom of the body, who's taken care of us our entire lives. It's the one making your heart beat right now. The mind isn't having to manage this and say, come on, beat, do it now. Remember to do it tonight when I sleep. Remember to do it tomorrow morning. We don't have to do that. It's happening on its own. There's a life force that is supporting us. And so we need to say, wait a minute, this body has kept me alive this entire time until now. Maybe it knows something I don't know. I don't know how every process in the body is supposed to work. Let me listen and see what the body is asking of me. And the body is communicating through sign language, through muscle cramping or stomach cramping, nausea, tension, pressure. But it's a biofeedback to the inputs that we're putting in it so that we can learn from this biofeedback. So we want to start paying attention. You know, for me, when I open the fridge and I pick up a food and I'm thinking, should I eat this? My body will literally tell me how I'm going to feel. It'll give me a little cue, like, like nausea, or just sometimes I'll get like an itching in the back of my throat. And I was like, oh no, that's going to irritate my throat. I can tell. And it's giving me that subtle cue in advance. But I'm paying attention. And if we're not paying attention, it's very easy to miss these cues because they're very subtle. But when the ego starts defaulting to the needs of the body and the capacity of the body. So if the body's tired, I'm not going to go run a marathon. I'm not going to impose this demand on the body, who doesn't really have a choice up to a certain extent until it gives out. It's pretty much our servant, even our slave. The mind is in a unique position to take care of this body or abuse this body just out of ignorance, just out of not knowing. So we want to start getting wise in the mind based on the information we're getting from the body. So see if this is something where you were raised with certain beliefs or you adopted certain beliefs or an identity of, no, I'm a strong person. So if this body wants to hang with this mind, it needs to step up, it needs to level up. But that's just not going to work. You can play that game forever and it'll never work. It's something where the body has legitimate needs. We have to accept them, but first we have to identify them and then meet them. So I will end this here for now. This is part of the Empowering Yourselves series, taking your power back, because there are places that you have agency that maybe you're not aware of, little places where you can say, wait a second, I just noticed that I made a decision that was against my body's well being. Okay, can I make a slightly different decision next time? We have that wiggle room where we can start shifting this conditioning, because you should be on your own side in life. And I don't mean your ego side, because the ego can get us into a lot of trouble. It's not like, oh, I just want to always be right and I'm going to be against people. That's not what I'm talking about. When I say you want to be on your own side in life, be on your body's side in life. Because your body has no negative intentions. It's so innocent and pure, like a baby. And if you default to the body, it's not going to hurt anybody. It's just going to be able to function in equilibrium. It's going to come out of the freeze response. It's going to come out of fight or flight. Usually, sometimes you're going to need facilitation or help from a professional, but it's going to start operating more in parasympathetic, where all the body regulation processes occur for resting, digesting, repairing, sleeping. And we really need this part. We can't just hustle and grind and stay in sympathetic indefinitely. There is going to be breakdown due to lots of factors, but cortisol always being produced, and that breaks down our muscles, our ligaments. The body needs to be acknowledged as having its own rights and being taken care of in a respectful manner. So I encourage you to just evaluate, what is my relationship with my body? Am I on my own side in life? Or am I undercutting myself? Am I angry at my body because it's not stepping up to this level of expectation I have? And then I take out my aggression on my body. But then I'm going to lose more energy and I'm going to continue to stay in the place that I'm at. So you want to be able to channel that anger, if that's what you're experiencing, channel that maybe towards a concept like the situation, the circumstance. I'm channeling it to that. That's still not the most skillful way, but it's one step away from channeling this anger towards your precious body. Think about if you can at least make a truce with your body and be on your body's side, and then you guys are in it together against the situation, just to switch that conditioning. And then eventually there are more skillful ways to look at that. So I'll leave it here. Let me know what you think. Feel free to share. It may help somebody. And I'll see you in the next video. Take care.